What if I told you a brilliant scientist once went on live television to prove his invention was safe and ended up accidentally killing himself in front of the entire world? This isn't science fiction. This is a chilling true story about ambition, invention, and a single fatal mistake. Throughout history, inventors have pushed the boundaries of science: electricity, flight, nuclear power. Each discovery brought enormous progress, but also enormous risk. And sometimes, that confidence became their downfall. In the early 20th century, the world was obsessed with scientific progress. Cities were booming with factories. Chemicals promised a better, faster, cleaner life. Science wasn't just in the labs, it was on stage, in newspapers, and even on live broadcast. Scientists were celebrities, and public demonstrations were like theater. It was an age of wonder and danger. Our story centers on one of the most infamous figures of that era, Thomas Midgley Jr., an American inventor. On paper, Midgley was brilliant. He played a huge role in developing leaded gasoline, which allowed engines to run smoothly, and early refrigerants, which eventually became the CFCs that made air conditioning possible. But here's the twist. Both of those inventions, celebrated in their day, turned out to be devastatingly toxic. Leaded gasoline poisoned millions. CFCs punched holes in Earth's ozone layer. And yet, Midgley was admired, trusted, even idolized. By the 1920s, cracks were beginning to show. Workers in Midgley's own labs were getting sick. Some were hallucinating. Others died after exposure to tetraethyl lead, the additive he created for gasoline. Newspapers started calling it loony gas. Public pressure mounted. Were these new chemicals dangerous? Was progress coming at a deadly price? And this is where Midgley made his fateful choice. He decided to silence the critics, not with data, not with careful science, but with a show. Midgley called a press conference. The cameras rolled. Reporters leaned in. Standing before them, with the confidence of a magician revealing his greatest trick, he held up a bottle of tetraethyl lead, the chemical everyone feared. And then, smiling calmly, he poured it directly onto his hands. He rubbed it in like soap. And as the crowd watched in disbelief, he leaned down, lifted the bottle, and inhaled its fumes deeply. For a moment, the room froze. And then Midgley stood tall, smiling, breathing normally as if nothing had happened. To the reporters, it looked like he had proved his point. The chemical was safe. The danger was overblown. But that was a lie. What the world didn't see was that the damage had already begun. Tetraethyl lead doesn't kill instantly. It poisons slowly, silently damaging the body, the brain, the nervous system. Midgley didn't collapse that day. He walked out of the conference alive, triumphant even. But behind closed doors, he soon fell seriously ill from lead poisoning. He spent months recovering. His health was never the same. The proof he had staged for the cameras was really just the start of his decline. And outside his lab, the world was beginning to pay the price. Leaded gasoline was spreading across the globe. Within decades, scientists linked it to neurological damage, developmental problems in children, and untold environmental harm. Midgley's invention was celebrated in the moment, but it poisoned an entire generation. But Midgley's story didn't end there. Years later, in 1940, he contracted polio. The disease left him disabled, unable to move freely. True to form, Midgley turned again to invention. He designed a system of ropes and pulleys, an elaborate contraption meant to lift his body from bed without assistance. It was ingenious, practical, a machine to give him freedom. But in 1944, at the age of 55, Midgley became entangled in his own device. The ropes wrapped around his neck, and the very invention he built to preserve his independence strangled him to death. Yes, the man who once risked his life on live television to prove his inventions were safe was ultimately killed by one of his own creations. Today, Thomas Midgley Jr. is remembered not as a hero, but as a cautionary tale. His work gave the world convenience and progress, but also irreversible damage. Leaded gasoline and CFCs poisoned air, water, and atmosphere for decades. Some historians even call him the man who had the greatest impact on Earth's atmosphere, and not in a good way. His legacy is a reminder that science without caution, without humility, can destroy as much as it creates. So let me ask you, if you had an invention everyone doubted, would you risk your life to prove it was safe? Or would you let the science speak for itself? Thanks for watching. If you want more unbelievable true stories like this one, don't forget to subscribe. You won't believe what's coming next.